Okay, Olympics. Striked me during the playoffs. You did a post-game interview with our colleague Scott Oak, and at one point he asked you, like, have you given much thought to playing for Team USA? So I just wonder, knowing how deep that position is for your country, just coming off the orientation camp for USA, where your head is at with that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching like Miracle on Ice since I was like 10, so I've always wanted to be Team USA's goalie at the Olympics, and you don't always get to pick the opportunity you have right away, but if I get a chance to go in, then it's on me to play great and earn that spot.
So Jake, I couldn't help but notice, I mean, you sit down here, suede shoes look great, all the way up to the jacket. We're moving into a new era now where the dress code will be a little bit relaxed going forward. Have you thought at all about what the game day fits will look like for you come this fall?
I'm pretty nervous about that actually. I don't have a ton of like good looking clothes other than suits, so either my wife's gonna have to be like my full-time stylist or I'm gonna have to just go suit with no tie. So I got like a year now to figure that out, but you know, guys like, you know, Kells or Austin Matthews, they wear whatever and it looks cool. I don't feel like I have that swagger that they have, so I'm gonna have to figure something out.
Okay.
So yeah, who's the Dallas Stars going to show up like Charlie Sheen in Major League with like the
Rupe.
sleeve? What's that?
Rupe Hintz for sure.
Oh, yeah.
He'll like wear stuff that I'm like, that's like the craziest thing I've ever seen, and it looks so cool. But like if I wore that, people would be like, "There's something seriously wrong with this guy." So Rupe's gonna be leading the charge for cool fits for our team.
So you're hesitant to branch out is kind of what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, right now, but I think it's good. Maybe open me up a little bit and you know, get outside my comfort zone.
By the way, I wondered if your answer was going to be Jamie Benn, that he would be.
He's pretty like, I feel like he just wears all black all the time. So I feel like
So
he's
it's
pretty,
easy.
Yeah, he's a pretty straight arrow.
All right, why don't we get to it? Last year, Game 5, the early hook. My first question is, did you talk to Pete DeBoer at all after all that happened?
Yeah, I met with him probably like a week after the season ended.
Okay. How did it go? What did you say?
Yeah, I mean, it went pretty well. I think, I mean, both he and I, you know, shared, you know, I shared how I felt and he shared how he felt. And I mean, you know, that's just life. Doesn't always go how you want it to. And I mean, obviously, you know, I think looking back, you know, I'm just focused on what I could have done better. And that's, you know, make a couple more saves and, you know, probably wouldn't have been in that position. So, you know, I try to look at it from that point of view and, you know, what I could have done to prevent it. And, you know, now it's all in the past and I've moved on and looking forward to the next chapter.
One of the things I wonder about, Jake, is that like I don't have as much pressure on me as you do on you being the goalie of a great NHL team. But I understand now as a public figure what it's like to have people like come at you, make fun of you, take shot, either rip my work or my appearance, which is an easy target, or you know anything. But I always think like I have a really thick skin, but there's always going to be things that you're going to look at and say over the line. And you're a very mild-mannered guy, and you're a very calm guy publicly. And I wondered, did you think that was over the line?
I mean, yeah, I don't know like necessarily like the full reasoning behind it. I just thought like, I mean, from my perspective, I would have liked to been able to, you know, stay in and battle and try to, you know, work my way out of that hole that we had gotten in. But, you know, like I said earlier, like, you know, I'm hard on myself and, you know, if I make one of those two saves then I'm in that game and then who knows what happens after that. So I think, you know, with the job that I chose to pursue, you know, people are going to love you, people are going to hate you. You're not going to be best friends with everyone, and that's just how it goes. And, you know, that's what I signed up for, being a goalie. And, you know, at the end of the day, I try to look at it like I'm living my dream and playing in really important games on a great team. And, you know, that stuff's just going to happen, and try to, you know, when bad stuff happens, try to, you know, make it better, make myself better so it doesn't happen again.
And you touched on at the end of the year, I mean, those first 2 rounds, you're playing incredible hockey. How many other teams around the league would have loved to be playing in a conference final? And yet, you know, the feeling once the season ends was not the one that you were after. So as the years have gone on, Jake, like how have you learned to manage disappointment?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, you know, there's teams and players around the league that have unbelievable seasons but at the end of the day, I mean, in my line of work, there's only one goalie that really got the whole thing done. And after I kind of moved on from that whole situation, I looked back and felt really proud of what I had done up to that point and the season that I had, and I felt like I got my game to the level where I know it can be, and that's as one of the best goalies in the world, and I think I showed that for a great part of that playoffs, and helped our team get to that position. So now I think just for me, how do I do that all this regular season, and then how can I do that for 4 rounds next year is kind of what I'm focused on. And in this line of work, it's like if you play for 20 years, and you win 1 Stanley Cup, you feel like you did it all. But the other 19 years, you fell short, and that's kind of, I feel like there's no other job other than professional athletes where it's like that, where the wins are so rare. So when you do get them, that's why they feel so good.
There was, when I grew up in Toronto, there was a great baseball pitcher, Dave Steve, and he would have a line. He would say, if I'm 500, I'm a terrible pitcher. But if a major league hitter gets out 70% of the time, they're a great hitter.
For sure.
And I always thought
For
about
sure.
it. Like, it's all how you put it in your head,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, if I make 4 mistakes, we lose 4-0 and I'm terrible. But if a player makes 20 mistakes and scores 1 goal, they're the best player on the team. So it's kind of funny perspective how you look at it like that. It's a tough job, and one I signed up for, and one that I love doing.
So just looking back through like your workload the last 3 years, 58 starts, 53, 61, like in the era of kind of playing the long game when it comes to workload, I mean, are you someone that embraces the idea of being the guy that starts a lot more than you would typically see around the league?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to play. If they said you're playing every night, I'd say great. Like, obviously, health-wise, that probably wouldn't be the best choice, but I think, there's nothing worse than sitting on the bench watching your guys go to battle and you feel like you're like a water boy. So I want to be in the net as much as I can, and I have to play well in order to continue to get the net, and that's my only focus is what can I do for my body, for my mind, to make sure that I can play a ton of games and feel fresh. And I think for our team now, it's like we know how serious the regular season is and how important that is, but we also are looking to like how can we be fresh come April, May, June. And those are all decisions that I go through every day, and the stuff that I do behind the scenes to stay healthy is why I've been able to play that much the last few years, and I don't plan on changing that anytime soon.
Physically, you're a big guy like Vasilevsky is. I look at how much he plays, and I have no idea how he, like those years, he won the 2 Stanley Cups, went to the finals. And I know there was, some of it was screwed up because of COVID, but the amount he played at the size he is, could you ever imagine having that workload?
That's what I want. Yeah, I would love to have that workload, to have to play in the finals year after year. So he's obviously a different animal. That's why they call him the big cat. But yeah, that's what you want. I mean, I want to be the guy that guys on our team look at like, hey, he's gonna give us 65 great games a night, and then I know he's gonna be great for 4 rounds. So that's kind of my mindset and the type of goalie I want to be.
Okay, Olympics. Striked me during the playoffs. You did a post-game interview with our colleague Scott Oak, and at one point he asked you, like, have you given much thought to playing for Team USA in Milan? And caught me off guard because I never would have thought that.
So honest.
I never would have thought to ask that in the middle of a playoff series, but it speaks to how much of a better broadcaster Scott is than I am. But the fact that you answered it and you said, yeah, obviously, other than winning a Stanley Cup, like that's where your mind is at. So I just wonder, knowing how deep that position is for your country, just coming off the orientation camp for USA, where your head is at with that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching like Miracle on Ice since I was like 10, so I've always wanted to be Team USA's goalie at the Olympics, and I don't think like that should distract any players. I think if anything, it should excite you, motivate you. But I know, the only way I can get on that team is have a great start to this season and show them that I'm, one of the best American goalies in the world. And then from there, you don't always get to pick the opportunity you have right away, but if I get a chance to go in, then it's on me to play great and earn that spot. So, I mean, to be the starting goalie for Team USA at the Olympics would be probably the biggest accomplishment in my career, and something that I do think about all the time. But I've been motivated by that for a long time, and would be a lifelong dream.
What's the dynamic like? We had Jack Hughes in here earlier, and he was like, at the Four Nations, amazing just to see a dressing room full of alphas. So amongst the goalies, what's the dynamic like amongst?
Yeah, it's great. I think, both guys I played with, we're great guys, first and foremost, great teammates. I mean, all three of us know that, we all want the net. There's only one net. I can't be the third line winger and still contribute, so it's either you're in the net or you're not. So obviously, like I said, you just, try to play great, get the opportunity, have a great game, and then see where it goes from there. And, if Hellies are in net or Sway's in net, then be the best teammate you can be. But, if they call my number, then I got to go out there and show them why I should stay in the net.
Last year, after Swayman signed, someone said to me it was only a matter of time. He set a contract template that made sense for you. Was it that simple? Once you saw that get done, you knew that you were going to be an 8-year star?
You have to ask my agent. I don't really know. I
can't get past that great mustache he has.
Yeah, seriously. The only thing I knew was, there's nowhere else I wanted to be than Dallas. And I mean, when they offered me to be there for 8 years, it was a dream come true. And, obviously that's something that you always want, is that security, but you never know in this league if you're going to get that. So, when the opportunity came to be there for 8 years, there was no question in my mind, where I wanted to be or a part of that team that's going to be really good for the next 8 years. So just couldn't be more happy to be in Dallas. And, from Jim Nill on down, it's as good as it gets as far as an organization is ran. And I just feel like very lucky to be a small part of it.
You got any more?
I was going to ask, before we started here, you were telling us about the goalie group you skate with in the summertime. One of the names you mentioned was Charlie Lindgren.
Mm-hmm.
We had Pierre-Luc Dubois here, and he said he is the most interesting teammate he has ever had.
Yeah.
Do you have any good Charlie Lindgren stories?
I don't have a ton, just that he's good for breaking at least one stick a week in the goalie skates. And his brother, I know his brother really well, Ryan. I played with him at the NCDP, and just the most competitive, doesn't matter if it's July or, game one of the playoffs, those guys want to beat you at anything they do. And I think that's what has made them so successful. And Charlie went to the same high school that I went to growing up. So he was kind of the guy that I looked up to growing up.
Oh, cool.
And was always wanted to be like Charlie Lindgren. And the fact that we're now both in the NHL, both get to skate together all summer. And when you skate with a guy that's as competitive as him, I mean, it brings the juices out in you too. You want to be better than him that day. So it's just, it's a fun dynamic, and it's pretty rare, I feel like, to get your competitive juices going like that in the middle of summer.
Pierre-Luc says he has an opinion on everything.
Yeah, we don't get into it too much. We're more talking about goalies and golf usually. We don't get into too much extra stuff, but I should start asking him a couple more questions.
Okay, so one of your teammates said to me that if I ever wanted to write a good article for once in my career, it was his life. He said that I would write an oral history about the third period, the second intermission, the third period, and the post game of the victory over Colorado. What it was like in the room, what it was like when Rantanen took over the game, and then what it was like in the dressing room and the celebration.
Yeah.
What are the things you remember most about that night?
Yeah, I think I just remember when McKinnon scored to make it 2-0, I think it was. Kind of was we might be running out of time here. And then you could just see when Moose would go on the ice, it felt like he was 10 feet tall. He had an extra gear and was basically decided hey, we're not losing to these guys. And I mean, I've never seen in my career someone take over a period like that. Every time he had the puck on his stick, it felt like he was going to score. And I mean, that amongst other things that he has done since he's been in Dallas kind of just shows you why it was so important for us to go get him, and how lucky we are that we don't have to go against him anymore. So to have 96 in green and white for the next 8 years is a goalie's dream, and it was just so cool to be a part of, and definitely memorable.
Do you remember anything about the post game?
I think just a lot of beers and cheers and just having a great time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can sense that, from your end of the rink, from a teammate of oh, he looks different right now.
Yeah, he had this, you didn't even want to look him in the eye. It's kind of scary, but that's what you want. I mean, he's got that killer mentality and went out there and took it.